Hello, and welcome to another module. In this module, we are going over the intelligent CBO method. So we've already done the cost cap method, we've done the interest targeting and day parting schedules. This is the intelligent CBO. So when I'm scaling to days like 50K and up on TikTok, everybody asks, how do you utilize, or what do you utilize on TikTok to scale to that figure? And as much as I'd love to say it's cost cap, to get that scale with cost capping just isn't possible. It requires, a ton of budget and a ton of heavy lifting. Cost capping is more for, getting the most bang for your buck and acquiring the most conversions for the cheapest amount of money in spend for TikTok ads. But in this particular case, we are doing the intelligent CBO method, which is a great scaling method. It's also a great testing method because you get to play around with a lot of different potential interests and day parting schedules, and I'll go over that within this initial setup. So I'd filmed this video before and it was just not working out because it takes a while to set up this campaign. So I figured I'll set up this campaign first and then we'll go over it together. And then if you have any questions or concerns on how to set this up, really the only thing that might be confusing is the clone tool that goes into the ad group section, but I'll show you how to do that. So basically here we've created a CBO campaign. Okay, and I call it the intelligent CBO for a reason, and I'll go through why I call it that. We're setting the budget to $250. Now this is a variance that you can play with, right? So for me, $250 is like a nice friendly budget. So, maybe you don't know if this product is going to do well, or, maybe you've tested it before and it's had some decent results. So you'd like to test it within a campaign that's separate from day parting or cost capping. This is the perfect next step. Okay. So aside from creating ABOs, which I've explained in the Facebook module, which is just like $40 budgets or $50 budgets rather, whatever you choose in a campaign. This is a CBO. So we're tying all of these ad sets into one big campaign and we're throwing a budget at it that we want TikTok to basically go in and pick apart the ads that are performing well and increase the budget automatically. Okay, so there's no physical labor here. There's no waking up at 8 a.m. to doing cost cap methods. This is strictly your ability to go in, pump budget, and have results with TikTok's algorithms help. Okay, so for me, I'm just doing 250. Typically, sometimes I'll go to 2,000. I'll go to 5,000 sometimes. It just depends on how well that product is performing. So for the sake of this video and for the sake of keeping it cordial and positive, let's do 250 bucks. But yeah, you can definitely scale this method quickly. So, adjust your daily budget if the ads are performing well, because it'll spend through that 250 pretty quickly. Let's go into this here and let's see what I've created. So when you're setting this up, you are going to be brought into a separate section, and it's the ad group section. And within this section, you're going to have options similar to these. So it'll pop up a screen like this, and you'll be able to go in and select all these presets just like before, just like the cost cap method, except for the first campaign. So when you create a campaign and it brings you into this, you want to keep this as bland as possible. Okay, we're talking boiled chicken bland. We want no gender, we want no age, aside from basically 18 to 24. There's a reason for that. If you've ever tried to advertise to 13 and to 17, they typically don't have credit cards. They have to ask their parents to make purchases. And some countries and some ads on TikTok just won't let you sell those individuals. So let's just not include them at all. So 18 to 24 to 55 and up. And that's a very broad range, obviously. No interests. The only thing that we're advertising in is the United States. If you're advertising in Europe, that'll be different, obviously. We are setting the day parting schedule for all day. And keep in mind, this is just the first campaign that you're making. So when you go here to campaign and you click create and you set up the CBO and you put a $250 budget in, this is the screen that you're going to be directed to, okay? So you want to just keep this bland, day parting all day, everything. When you click save, it's going to bring you into the ad creation side. So for this particular video, that's not important because it's just a test. So I just put in some, a dummy video just to basically have this showed here within the ads manager. So next up, after you pop in the ad here and you press publish, you are going to go back into the campaign. Okay, and you'll see one here. You're going to click on that and it's going to take you to ad groups. And then when you see one here, it'll give you the ability to copy this ad. Okay, so in this particular case, because we have the maximum, you're going to copy it 10 times. Okay, so 10 times at once. So you're copying it 10 times, and then what you're gonna do is once that propagates, it'll prompt the ad window. So if you want to make, variations in the ad or have a split test potentially in the ad, you can do that there. But in this particular case, we're going to be using the same ad for all of these interests. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to scroll to the very bottom, and remember, because you set it up bland like boiled chicken, you have the ability to go in with a blank slate every single time and make the changes that you'd want to change. So in this particular case, because we're doing a high budget CBO and we want to test different potential audiences and interests, I am going to disable everything aside from 18 to 24. And then maybe I would like to target only females. Okay, and then I'll try the applied interest tab as well. And then I will set this to 9 every day until 1. Okay, because that's what I think 18 to 24-year-old females are buying within. Now, if I wanted to be even more peculiar with this setup, I have the ability to go in and I can obviously change certain times here where, the sales volume isn't popping off or something. But remember, we have one ad that's always running broad, so it'll fill in the gaps for any day parting schedules that we get too involved with, okay? So that's just one example. I don't have to save that. The second example is when you go back in, now that you have 18 to 24 and it's day parted and you're using the suggested interests, maybe go back in and do the same thing for 25 to 34, okay? And female only, apply the same interests, and then go down and run it all day or set a specific time. If you find that, think about the audience. If you're targeting women between the ages of 25 and 34, they have jobs, right? So 18 to 24, you're talking about college kids. Their schedule's all over the place. They could have classes at 8 a.m., get home at 11, and they could be purchasing within that time slot. But figuratively speaking, most of the time for an adult, they're going to be purchasing within the initial time frame that we went over in the first module, which is, it's 8 to 9, 11 to 1, basically 5 to 7, and then 9 to 11. 9 to 11 obviously being the biggest spike, especially with TikTok, because that's when normally people are on their phones. So in this particular case, I would follow those same rule sets. Okay, 8 to 9. I'll just do it for Monday as an example. We'll do 11 to 12. Then we'll do 5 to 7. And we'll do 9 to 11. Now my military timing might be off right now. But you just make sure that it's accurate and correct when you're doing it, okay? Because we use UTC, so UTC is all over the place with agency accounts. Keep in mind, if your time zone here says UTC, you have to look up the UTC time zone, because when you're making the ads, you want it to be in EST or CST, wherever you plan on advertising or has the highest sales volume. If you're curious about that, you can go into the analytics and you can actually see which states are performing the best and then correlate within that time zone, okay? So you should get the gist of it by now. Basically what we're doing is we're going in and we have 10 options and we're making parameters and small changes within those 10 options to be able to basically have a big campaign with a lot of different variances so that TikTok can formulate a perfect advertising strategy towards the selected audiences within those interests, okay? So you can do the same thing if you have a unisex product. You can add a whole tab for men as well, and you can cross compare. If it's targeting only men, does it perform better than just broad? So this information here is going to be able to give you a lot of intel on the product and the audiences that it's performing best with, okay? So that's why we call it the intelligent CBO. Always remember when you're making changes too, to go up here and name it. That way you're not confused, okay? So if you're doing men 18 to 24 and you're doing rec interests, that's what I'd name it, okay? So that when you look into the CBO, when it's performing, you can turn off campaigns or you can make adjustments to campaigns based on the information that you're seeing. So for example, if you go here on a day that it's performing, and you see a cheap cost per click or a high CTR or click-through rate on men, you can improve that particular ad set by duplicating it and giving it more of a chance to propagate within that CBO. So this is the intelligent CBO. Basically, you're going in and you're making small adjustments and changes, whether it's day parting or interests or age groups or male or female differentiations, and that is basically going to formulate this fantastic campaign that TikTok will have a blast with spending your budget. Now, testing, you don't have to test with $250. Obviously, you can run a campaign with $50 and still test 10 potential interests, because TikTok might just spend that whole budget on one interest that's working really well. So it just takes the heavy lifting out of having to sit there and do the homework and maybe come up with which ads are going to perform the best. Okay, so you give them all of the work and they're going to give you the results back. Okay, so this is like the old school method on Facebook, where you would make like all of those cold interest campaigns and then just see which ones did the best, and then you put them into a CBO. This is the same thing, except of doing an ABO campaign. So instead of just making all of these a $10 budget, or if this one is $250, instead of making them a $25 budget, we're letting the algorithm basically determine where to spend the money. Whereas if you're setting it up with an ABO, every single potential interest has to spend $25. We don't want that. We only want it spending the money where it's getting results. Okay, so that's why CBO is better. This was the intelligent CBO method. It's a pretty quick, straight to the point video. I use it all the time, and I thought I wanted to share it with my community here. There's a ton of cool modules that are releasing too. One of them in particular that I'm very happy about is a huge winning product dump that I'm giving out to everybody, and that's products that I spent a couple of hours researching using the method that I did, and I made it public profile and public domain so that all of you guys have access to some of those winning ads. And if you test them out and they don't work, still go through and analyze why I might have thought that those were winning ads, and then you can kind of reverse engineer that process when you're doing your product's research method independently. Okay, so you can say, well, Franky found products like this. Maybe I can find a product like this or within the same category, and then you go off to the races with your blinders on. Remember, no AliExpress or anything like that, and you start product research. So it's also an educational tool, but it's also has the potential to make you guys a lot of money if you run up those products. And that's my gift to you guys for Thanksgiving. So once again, this was my intelligent CBO method. I'm super happy that you guys are all in this community. Take care and stay tuned for the next modules.